we need to talk about Black History Month because it's right around the corner, and every time this month rolls around for Booktok, every time this month rolls around for Booktok, we just can't seem to get, not we, never mind, they just can't seem to get it right for whatever reason. So let's call these code of conducts. Now, if you don't like it, you know, you don't got to flow with it or whatever, I'm just saying, this seems to be a reoccurring problem from what I've seen. Okay, and the first one being those book recommendations. Now, when we're talking about Black History Month, we're not just talking about Black characters, but also uplifting Black authors. Okay, so just because a book has a Black character in it doesn't necessarily mean that needs to be in your recommendations for Black History Month. And a lot of the times what happens is people see like a Black character mentioned in a book and then they just throw it into their Black History Month content, like book recommendations or whatever. And they don't even realize that the author is not a person of color, is not a Black person. So just like take an extra second to like look through and see, like, you know, a lot of people, their pushback is always like, oh, I don't do deep dive into authors and I don't do this or that or whatever. Nobody's telling you to like go get a private investigator or look into everybody's business and stuff like that. But if you're going to make a Black History Month book recommendation and have that as part of your content, like, the least you can do is like look up on Amazon or Goodreads or something real quick to see if that author is actually Black, right? So that's our code of conduct. Number one is that we're just going to research. We're just going to look really quick to see, is this author even Black? Just because they have a Black character. But speaking of Black characters, let me just say this. If anybody holds up Throne of Glass in their book recommendations, I swear to God, I don't know if it's rage bait at this point, or if this is like a strategic marketing campaign to like push back against like claims that this author is not diverse. She does not need to go into Black recommendations. I don't know why this happens every year. I don't know why y'all keep doing it. I swear to God, it has to be rage bait. Aside from the stereotypical tropes used for that character in that book, that I don't know why y'all just can't go out of your way to find a different book to recommend for Black History Month. Please, for the love of God, don't hold up that book for your book recommendations for Black History Month. Find somebody else. I promise you, there is somebody else. And you don't even have to look that hard, really. You really don't. So I don't even know if that's number 2 or if that would be a side note, but whatever it is. The third one would be, when it comes to these recommendations, for some reason, people have this urge, this feeling in them, this little voice on their shoulder telling them that you should go in the comments and mention how you don't see color. Or you need to go in the comments and mention how, why do we always have to think about whether the character is Black or not? Or why do we have to focus so much on this? You don't have to do it. Just ignore that urge, ignore that voice. Tell it to hush, at least for the month. You know, I know for some people it's really hard to ignore, but at least for this month, you don't got to be in people's comment sections doing it. What you do on your own platform is your business. If you get dragged for it on the other side of Booktok, you know, that is your battle to fight. That's your choice. But when somebody is making their own video about Black History Month, recommending Black books by Black authors, that is not your sign to then go in and announce that you don't see color. Okay? It's so weird. It's odd behavior. It definitely influences the way that you read, and we can tell the way that you critically analyze books and engage with it. But you know, like I said earlier, that's your battle, that's your testimony, that's your ministry. We don't have to be involved in it, and you certainly don't have to announce it. You know, it's odd behavior, kind of like when Target was just randomly like, we hate DEI, we're so happy that it's gone. You don't have to do that, okay? Steven, now is not the time. The last thing I want to mention for Black History Month this year is just be mindful of the fact that you don't have to wait for this month to read Black authors, Black stories, books with Black characters. Like, this is something that you could do year round. And if you shouldn't be treating it like it's just content, right? Like if you have no intention of ever picking up another Black author until February rolls around again next year, then just kind of spare us the performance of like picking up a stack and showing like it's the same 3-4 books that you like kind of keep, you know, keeping your reservoir just specifically for this month, and you're not really about that life throughout the whole year. Like spare us the performance and just go on about your life, right? There's people out there who really actually want to diversify their reading. They're actually genuinely invested in it, in uplifting like marginalized communities, specifically Black voices. If you don't want to participate in it, like just spare us the performance of trying to capitalize off of this month with content that you know is going to trend.
About your presentation.
Excuse me?
It's whack.
Thank you.
You know, you can do it all year. And like, that's not to say that people are gonna, I'm not gonna say, at least I'm not gonna be scrolling through to see how often like you actually post it or something like that. But I will say is people can clock that energy pretty easy. And also if you're standing in front of your bookshelf, people can clock that pretty easy. So it's weird behavior to kind of like not want to invest yourself in it throughout the year, but then as soon as February comes around, all of a sudden you're all about it. It's you profiting off of Black voices and Black stories. So yeah, like maybe like don't do that. So with that being said, when February rolls around, there are a bunch of trends that I absolutely love that roll around on Booktok for Black History Month. Sometimes people do like their book stacks about like powerful Black characters, powerful Black women, fantasy books with Black characters, with dragons, different themes and stuff like that. I'm not a theme kind of reader. I'm a mood reader. Hey, that squeaking noise. Stop it. I'm a mood reader, so like sticking with themes is really hard for me. Like I might not feel like reading all dragon books for like a week or something like that, but I do have a rough TBR of books that I want to read for February, and all of February I do only want to read Black authors. So here's like a list, and like I said, it's a rough TBR. Depending on how the tides change, I might pick out a different book. I might not get to all of these books depending on how fast or how slow I'm reading, so we'll see. But the first one is going to be Dominion, just because I have been seeing this all up and down my For You page. It is a book. It has a beautiful cover too. It's really simple. It's like a green cover. It's somewhere on the screen probably. But it is a book about a family, a church-going family. There's like this boy named, what's his name? Wonder Boy, I think, something like that. And he's like the prodigal son. He's great in everything that he does. Like this family's supposed to be this upstanding family, religious family, with a lot of like social capital, a lot of power. But then the Wonder Boy, he meets somebody, and like that is a catalyst to like all kind of secrets and mess and drama being brought up for the family. I grew up in the church. I don't consider myself religious anymore necessarily. But I did grow up in like church culture and stuff like that, so I am still like always fascinated and always entertained by it. So I'm excited to read this book, because a lot of people don't realize that, especially in the Black church, it's not just the religious aspect, it's like a whole cultural experience. And you know, sometimes when you bring in the pastor's wife and the ushers and oh my goodness, the aunties, it gets messy, it gets entertaining. So, and the house of the Lord nonetheless. So that's one of the books that I have on my TBR. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna want to read that. I have a Kindle now, thank you to my fiance. But like I said, I love the cover so much, I think I want to buy the physical copy of it and read it that way. What else? Make Me a Monster, which I believe is a thriller or a horror. But basically she is a mortician, is she an assistant? She's a mortician, or a mortician's assistant or something like that. But basically like zombies are coming back, people are coming back from the dead, and it just brings up, of course, all kinds of drama. I don't know if she starts turning into a zombie or something like that. I don't know, but it sounds really interesting. Last year I really got into like thriller and horror, which is, this is also my fiance's fault. I'm not a big horror movie person because I get scared very easily, but I am a big horror story lover. Like I think it's so creative. The stories are usually like very complex and the characters are crazy. So I used to just go on Wikipedia and read the story and call it done, but I've been watching movies lately with him, and I want to get into the books. So last year I read a couple of thrillers that I found interesting, and this year I want to get into it more often, be a big girl, not be so scared all the time. So that's one of the books that I have on my TBR for the month of February. Let This Radicalize You is a nonfiction book that I'm actually, I was reading it on audiobook. I don't do well with audiobooks, so I kind of gave up on that. I do want to read it physically in the month of February though, finish reading it. I think I'm a third of the way through. So I want to finish it in February and just read it physically because I do have the physical copy. I just couldn't do it on audiobook. I can't do audiobook in general. I think it's my attention span. So, but that one is a nonfiction book, and it's basically just talking about like the different movements, the different organizations, the different like mutual aid, and how that kind of how we can look and refer to those to shape like the future way that we organize and you know, be activists and stuff and be more effective and more efficient. So that is a pretty timely book for right now. Last one is, I have it written down somewhere, The King Must Die, which is a dystopian fantasy. I want to say it's a fantasy romance. I don't know if it leans more heavily towards romance or fantasy. It is a fantasy book though, and basically this one girl, she joins a rebellion, and then they're working to bring down the king and the sovereign. It's referred to as a sovereign, which is pretty cool. The sovereign, and I think she like falls in love with like his son or something like that. And I'm interested in it. I don't know if it's like an environmentalist dystopian, which I'm kind of like I'm interested in reading because one of my favorite booktubers reads like a lot of environmentalism dystopian type of books, and all of her reviews always sound like amazing. So but that's one of the books that I'm interested in on my TBR. If you have a recommendation for Black History Month that you want to put in the comments, feel free. If you want to support another Black author, feel free to check out my fantasy romance book too, The Believers of Cyril, which is already published. You can get it on Unlimited or paperback. And that is about a woman who's a fire manifester. Her mama runs off to join a cult, and she goes off to go find her. She meets a hot knight along the way, a woman who can control people's emotions. They go help her, and they learn a lot of crazy stuff. You know, there's cults involved, there's corrupt governments involved, there's knights, there's elemental magic involved. So you can check that out. But yeah, if you had some recommendations, behave on Booktok this Black History Month, and you know, I'll see you in the next